Hey guys, my name is Emma and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm giving you a 360 review, which is where I try and give you a 360 view around a book or series in 360 seconds. Today I'm talking about the Silo Trilogy by Hugh Howey. This is a post-apocalyptic sci-fi fiction. Book number 1 is Wool, and then we have Shift and Dust. So this, as I said, is post-apocalyptic sci-fi fiction set in a world where people live in an underground bunker called a silo, which is just like a huge concrete cylinder type thing fully sunken into the ground that's like over 100 floors high. There's a whole collection of people living in this one silo, and they are under the belief that the world up top has been completely decimated by nuclear apocalypse as such, and they cannot go outside. They are trapped forever in this silo. So to give you a bit of backstory about its publication, each individual book is actually separated out into several short stories as such that are strung together. So this is technically the Wool Omnibus. The reason for this is because the first book in this was published as a short story by the author online as an ebook, and then he kind of continued going from there. The series got a load of traction and it eventually got picked up by real publishers and kind of got commissioned into a full-blown series that finished it off. It's also got a graphic novel and 3 other actual genuine short stories that are linked to this, which I have not personally read. The general plot opens with Holston, who is investigating the kind of execution of his wife. So in the silo, the way that criminals are dealt with is they are sent out for what's called a cleaning. There is a window to the outside world that will gather dust over time, and criminals who have been given the death sentence are sent out with some wool to clean it so that the rest of the people in the silo can see out into the world. And in doing so, the nuclear fallout that is still around in the world will kill them. Holston's wife has got it in her head that the outside world isn't actually a nuclear wasteland anymore and is something that is livable, but is like a big conspiracy being covered up by the people in the silo who are in charge. So she is convinced that she should go out and find out what is going on there. This all happens kind of before the story starts, and then Holston is dealing with the aftermath of his wife being sent out and basically becomes obsessed with this idea as well, and in doing so gets also sent to his death. This is where the real main story kicks off, because Juliet, who is a character from the engineering department, basically gets promoted up to sheriff in Holston's place and is also interested in Holston and his wife and basically what is going on here. Is there a big conspiracy or not? The story follows on from there, and I'm not going to speak too much about the plot from this point on because obviously I don't want to spoil anything for you. Wool follows very much the characters in the silo. Dust covers kind of a prequel to how people ended up in the silo in the first place and gives you backstory for a character that is introduced halfway through Wool. And then Shift goes back to the original timeline in Wool and basically wraps up all of the events and activities that have happened in there. So I would say that I've given this, I think, 5 stars on Goodreads. I consider it one of my favourite series out there. It made it in my top series list of 2018. It is a wonderful trilogy. You should totally read them. However, there is one big glaring weakness from my point of view, and that is the pacing and structure of these. Because it was originally written as a short story that then kind of had a life of its own, I personally don't like the prequel aspect to it that you get in Dust. I think that you build up such a strong connection to so many of the characters in Wool to then move on to Dust, where you barely get to see any of them again because we spend so much time hanging out before the events of this to find out how this happened. I actually think these two, if you could rip these up and kind of re-smush them back together so that you had both of them kind of happening naturally, I think there are some natural breakpoints in both books that would lend themselves to that. And then this still works as the original setup of it being the roundup of everything that's happened. I think that the cast of characters in this is really strong. There are so many characters, as you would expect from such a sweeping trilogy, and I think that each one of them is very well rounded, very fleshed out and very believable. I also think that world building is very strong in this series. The intricacies of how exactly you could keep, I don't know exactly the population for the silo, but how you could keep a rather large collection of people alive underground for, we're talking literally hundreds of years by this point, by the time we kick in with Wool. You know, how do we get the oxygen sorted? How do we feed them? What do we do about sunlight? What do we do about all of these different things going on? And I think that Hugh Howey spent a long time researching that properly and building it so that it's very believable. And with that, the kind of cultural things that get overlaid over the top of it, the sort of cultural implications of the people who live closer to the surface and the people who live on the lower decks and the interactions between them there, and the kind of almost classist society that gets built around that, I thought was very interesting. I also really liked a lot of the discussions about that kind of almost bottle episode idea of people in a confined space and emotions and boiling points and how people deal with that. In terms of what it is similar to in the book slash TV world, I personally struggled to find any books that I have read that I think are similar to this. I do think it is a creature unto itself in some ways. It did remind me a bit of The 100, which I've only seen in TV show form, but I do know it is based on a series of books. If you do like Silo and you want to know where to go next, I think stylistically it's quite similar to Benjamin Percy's The Deadlands. They're very different when it comes to plot content, but I think that the writing style is similar. In relation to the rest of Hugh Howey's other work, he has just started a new series called Sand, which I would not go anywhere near. I do not think it is worth it. This is by far stronger, specifically when it comes to the world building. You can tell how much thought Hugh Howey's put into his world with these books, and I think that it's really lacking in Sand. So there you have it. There's my 360 review on the Silo Trilogy. So thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful reading week, and I'll chat to you soon. Bye guys.